Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a really fascinating source in front of us today. It's a PDF called For Her.
Right, and it reads very differently from, say, a report. It's deeply personal.
Exactly. It feels like a narrative.
Yeah.
Like someone's specific story about love, but also about messing up, regret, and then, well, the tough journey towards connection.
And forgiveness. That seems key here.
Absolutely. So, for this deep dive, we're going to walk through the kind of emotional map laid out in this text. We'll pull out the key moments, the feelings, and maybe some insights about relationships, forgiveness, and how people might change.
It's a very specific lens, though. It seems heavily focused on one person's internal experience, their mistakes, their regrets, their hopes.
That's a great point. It gives us this raw look inside someone grappling with their own, well, significant errors in a relationship. And according to the source, this all kicks off with an initial meeting, actually 4 years before the main events unfold. It calls it a fateful encounter.
But one that apparently went wrong quite quickly. Spoiled by his unintentional disrespect is the phrase used.
Yeah, unintentional disrespect. That really jumps out. It suggests, from his view back then anyway, that he was blind to the hurt he caused.
So, not malice, but a lack of awareness, a failure to see the impact.
Right. But here's the thing, that blindness didn't last. The source really emphasizes that time passing awakened deep regret.
And this regret sounds like it became pretty intense. The descriptions are vivid.
They really are. Things like nights being a refuge where tears painted the portrait of his longing. It's quite poetic almost.
It suggests his love was growing insatiably, and each tear was like a witness to how strong those feelings were. It's conveying a really deep, almost physical sense of remorse.
Yeah, that image, tears painting a portrait, it really conveys something more than just feeling sad. It sounds like his whole inner world was dominated by this.
So the insight seems to be about regret as a catalyst, maybe? A powerful force for deepening emotion over time.
Exactly. And this wasn't just a brief phase. We're talking 4 years passing.
4 years, wow. And the source paints a picture of him actively holding on to hope during that time. His hopes brightened the path back to her. Prayers, her name woven into his devotion.
It sounds like a very active, dedicated kind of waiting, not just passive pining. Almost spiritual, the way it's described.
And there are these small specific details, too, like etching her name onto dawn-kissed glass.
Oh, right. Cherishing the fleeting imprint. That's such a fragile image, isn't it? For a fragile hope.
It really speaks to how precious any reminder of her was during that separation. And even though her absence was like a melancholic tune, his heart, it says, clung to the idea that fate would bring them back together.
But crucially, the source connects this period directly to his personal development. It talks about the transformative effect of time, how his childlike attitude evolved. He became a man of substance.
So the narrative seems to be arguing that this time apart, this intense period of regret and longing, was actually necessary for him to grow, to become someone capable of a different kind of relationship.
Which raises a point, doesn't it? Does real transformation sometimes need that kind of distance? Stepping away to change for something or someone?
It's definitely positioned that way here. His growth is presented almost as the necessary precursor to them meeting again.
Which they eventually do, after the 4 years. The source really highlights this moment, that rainy September day by a pond.
And it wasn't just a casual meeting, apparently. It ignited a symphony of emotions.
Symphony of emotions, yeah. And this time, it seems like the connection actually started to form properly. Their meetings became frequent.
Laughter became their soundtrack, the text says. They rediscovered each other. It sounds quite idyllic, actually, finding joy again.
And it says he fell in love anew, deeper and more profoundly, finding harmony, between the past regret, the present joy, and hope for the future. It feels like the payoff for all that waiting and growth.
You'd almost expect the story to wrap up there, wouldn't you? Mistake, regret, growth, reunion, happy ending.
Right. But no, this is where, like you said, it gets really interesting and kind of painful, honestly. Because even in this renewed connection, the source says, villains made their presence felt.
And he was unwittingly cast in that role. That phrase again, unwittingly, suggests maybe not direct intent, but
the outcome was devastating. He repeated the same mistakes that had haunted him before, the exact same ones.
And the source hints at why influenced by voices that lacked insight. Maybe bad advice, or just not thinking clearly.
Possibly. But the core issue identified is a lack of trust, questioning her loyalty. And the text is blunt. He was totally wrong.
Wow. So those old patterns, even after years of apparent change, they just resurfaced.
It's a tough lesson, isn't it? that overcoming past failures might not be a one-and-done thing. It could be a recurring battle, and the result, heartache all over again. Regret clawed at his soul.
But what's different this time, according to the source, is his reaction. No years of passive regret needed now. He acted swiftly, seeking to mend what was fractured.
Right. The pain of repeating the mistake seems to have spurred immediate action. He went to her, vulnerable.
Baring his heart and pleading for her forgiveness, that vulnerability sounds key.
And her response, she granted him another chance. The source calls this a testament to the resilience of love, like building a bridge that spanned the chasm of mistakes.
That's powerful. Forgiveness is an active act of construction, bridging a gap he created.
So, okay, they start this journey as lovers, officially. But the source is pretty honest, saying he was still unversed in the art of love, stumbling.
Even with pure intentions, right. It shows good intentions aren't always enough if you don't have the skills, the understanding for effective communication.
Exactly. So it wasn't smooth sailing, but their bond weathered these storms, actually grew stronger apparently, solidified their foundation.
The challenges became part of the building process, and his growth continued within the relationship this time, making space for her, respecting her fragility, understanding her vulnerabilities.
So it became about learning each other deeply, through laughter, through tears, trying to unlock, as the text puts it, the enigma of true love. It really frames relationship building as this ongoing learning curve.
It does, but then there's another major test, a really significant one.
Ah, yes. He treated another woman with a familiarity that breached the bounds of their commitment.
This wasn't just a small misstep, it sounds like. It crossed a line, put everything they'd built at risk again.
And the source is really perceptive about the impact on her. It notes the tempest he stirred was fueled by her history, her past wounds making her heart prone to doubt.
That is crucial. His actions didn't just cause new hurt, they trigger her old stuff, her existing vulnerabilities and insecurities.
Insecurities that, the text even points out, he had previously contributed to her feeling. Led her to think of, is the phrase.
Which makes this so much more complex. It wasn't just about his mistake in the moment, it resonated with her past pain he had a hand in. So the trust they'd painstakingly built just wavered.
Yeah. It puts her healing journey front and center, too, not just his redemption, it's intertwined.
So what was his reaction this time?
Clinging to love, apparently. Fervently begging for understanding, swearing his heart was steadfastly hers. Total desperation, it sounds like.
And somehow, after that storm, forgiveness happened again. Forgiveness bloomed.
Which feels even more significant this time, given the context of her past wounds being reopened. It's presented as this profound act of resilience from both of them, really.
And the source emphasizes the lessons learned from this. For him, it was learning patience, learning to speak the language her heart understood, moving beyond just feeling love to actually expressing it effectively for her.
And for her, the text says she opened her heart to the possibility of love triumphing over her past, choosing to believe in their future despite the pain. Her healing and their relationship became linked.
They became a united force, it says. Not a fairy tale, but something raw, authentic, a testament to second chances, maybe even third chances, and growth.
And that core idea, again, love is a choice, an active decision, especially when things get incredibly difficult.
That really resonates. It's not just a feeling that carries you, it's a commitment you actively make over and over.
And the source describes how their connection deepened after navigating all this. His love for her delicate nature, cherishing her strength and vulnerability, adoring her with reverence.
Celebrating her fragility, even. It's about loving the whole person, isn't it? And crucially, learning to love her in a language she understood. That phrase keeps coming up.
Yeah, and he gives examples. Holding her on sensitive nights, soothing fears, listening to unspoken words, becoming her haven, her refuge.
It paints a picture of really earned intimacy and deep emotional safety, built through the hard times.
The source uses metaphors like a symphony, an orchestra, a dance, to describe their current connection. It's about understanding, respect, navigating forgiveness, healing, all ongoing.
And they're looking forward to intertwined dreams, talking about the future, actively building something together.
It's framed as an ongoing masterpiece, which I like. Not finished, still in progress. A story about learning from mistakes, embracing imperfections.
And it mentions his vow to actively rewrite her past with love to counteract the pain he caused, and her recognizing his genuine efforts now.
That's huge, acknowledging the effort, the sustained change.
Their love is described as a sanctuary, where vulnerability is met with compassion, fears are eased, love as a balm that healed old wounds.
That idea of love as a healing agent for past trauma is really powerful in this context.
So ultimately, the source presents their story as an anthem to resilience, a tribute to love enduring despite the odds, celebrating understanding, respect, and that transformative magic found in choosing love through imperfection and growth.
It's quite a journey, a perspective on what committed love can look like when it confronts head-on human flaws and deep-seated pain. So wrapping this up for you, our listener, we've gone deep into this one narrative source, pulled out themes of love, major failure, resilience, growth. We saw how mistakes can spark regret that fuels change, but also how easily those same mistakes can reappear.
And how forgiveness, especially repeated forgiveness, isn't simple. It seems tied to demonstrated change, real vulnerability, and immense effort from both sides.
And maybe most importantly, how dealing with past wounds and insecurities isn't just on the person carrying them. It becomes a shared challenge in the relationship, demanding empathy, patience, and a joint commitment to healing.
Yeah, the story isn't just about them. It's a raw look at that messy, difficult, but maybe ultimately rewarding process when two imperfect people choose to learn, choose to grow, choose to build something strong together. It highlights sustained effort, vulnerability, and that active choice of love.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to consider. How much does this resonate with the idea that may be true? Lasting love isn't so much about finding someone perfect, but more about that ongoing choice. The choice to understand, to forgive, and to actively grow alongside someone who is inevitably imperfect. How much is it about transforming together,